Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our one of our first webinar after the in December. Now I hope everyone is getting ready for their December holidays, and I think everyone deserves a break. But before we break off for the year, it gives me a great pleasure for us to welcome everyone to come and take part in this webinar that we have prepared for you today. Expand Your Business series is something that holds very dearly to SFA, Singapore Fintech Association, and that's because Singapore companies are always looking to expand to overseas. And more importantly, we are also constantly welcoming foreign investors and fintech companies coming to Singapore. And it's with that in mind that today we have prepared for you to help everyone understand a bit more about the Lithuanian market. Now, this is very interesting because many of our B2B fintech companies are always looking at European markets. And when it comes to Europe, most people are very familiar with UK and maybe France and Germany and so on and so forth. But Lithuania is really a very exciting market where it's not only just in itself a market, but it's also a gateway into the larger Europe. And I think looking at the strong panel that we have prepared for you today, they will be able to share so much more with you. Before I hand it over, I just want to share with you some of the key stats that by the end of 2021, there are already more than 260 fintech companies counting in Lithuania. And the capital of Vilnius is a vibrant and innovative city that relies on its mature digital infrastructure and highly educated talent pool. On that note, Lithuania is also part of Europe. So when it comes to licensing, you literally have access to the whole of Europe of more than 500 million consumers. And Lithuania has very high talent workforce as well, with more than 85% of the ICT specialists hold a tertiary degree. And not only that, the government is also providing a lot of incentive to attract talents into working in Lithuania. Now, my role here is not to steal the thunder and share all the things with you, but I just want to highlight that Lithuania is both a market as well as a gateway into the larger Europe. And what more better than I have this whole strong panelists here who can share these insights with you to guide you along. I do encourage very vibrant Q&A later on, so you do have any questions about how to enter the market, please press it out there and if we have the right people who are on this panel to be able to answer them for you. Now, allow me to hand it over to Remco, our moderator for today. Remco, please.
Hi, good morning, everyone. To Lithuania and good afternoon to everybody in Singapore. My name is Remco Wiedenberg and I will be your moderator for today's session where we will give you a sneak peek into why Lithuania is such a good country to be situated in as a fintech. We are joined by multiple experts that will also open the session of today. Me, myself, I'm a Dutch fintech consultant, so I'm representing both also a little bit of the Netherlands, but also mostly Lithuania. And before I want to set the scene, as Ruben pointed out, Lithuania is now the #1 fintech hotspot in Europe. And there are many reasons why it has become that. And I think with today's speakers, we'll be able to give you all the key trends and insights why this is the case. Not only is Lithuania, as I said, #1 in Europe, but it's also #4 globally with over 265 licensed fintech companies, whereas France has only 90. And having a reputation for transparency, it only takes an average of 3 months to get an e-money institution license in Lithuania, which also ranks it at 80th place globally on the lowest risk jurisdiction for money laundering. And not only that, 63% of all surveyed fintechs have women at their executive positions in Lithuania, and there's much more to cover. So we're going to kick off the session with an opening speech from Andreas from the BTCS cluster. So Andreas, I'm going to give the word to you.
Hi, folks. Thank you, Ruben. Thank you, Remco, for the introduction. Very shortly on myself, I'm Andrius Petkevičius, the cluster manager at BCCS. BCCS essentially is a group of companies, both Lithuanian and international organizations that work hand in hand to support the growth and development of the fintech and Web3 ecosystems with knowledge, talent, and technology. As we are part of the SFA members and international partners, in essence, with this event, we want to firstly foster collaboration and knowledge sharing between both Singapore's and Lithuanians' fintech and Web3 ecosystems. And actually, I read an interesting statistics a few weeks ago that the export to the Southeast Asia market from Lithuania grew by a whopping 50%. So I really believe that this event will be a further catalyst for broader collaboration between both markets. For today, we have few guests from the Lithuania's ecosystem. Firstly, we'll introduce the event by a presentation from Agnė Klimavičienė from Invest Lithuania. And then we'll switch to a panel discussion moderated by Remco to zero in on what it actually takes to expand to Lithuania, what are the key insights and considerations from the companies that have gone through it all or supported others to do so, and how can BCCS and Invest Lithuania support your growth plans. And without any further ado, I would like to introduce our first speaker, Agne Klimavichne, to give a presentation on Lithuania. Over to you, Agne.
Hi, hello. Do you hear me? Can you see my slides?
Yes.
Yeah? All good. Okay, so thanks for this chance to be part and to take part in this webinar, and I'm really honored to be here. So I don't know how much time do I have, like 20 minutes or 15 minutes. So in these 15 minutes, I would like you to meet Lithuania. That I believe is excellent in fintech. So briefly about me and what I represent. So I'm part of Invest Lithuania and part of technology team at Invest Lithuania. Invest Lithuania is a governmental agency, so we are part of the government under the Ministry of Economy and Innovation, which is good actually, because due to this, all our services are free of charge. So what do? We consult international companies, including international fintechs on labor costs in Lithuania, taxes, infrastructure, on establishing a company here. And we connect international companies with key decision makers, service providers such as HR agencies, lawyers, sometimes governmental institutions such as a regulator. We might help with employer branding, PR services, and assist with governmental financial incentives. And once the newcomer, the international company establishes in Lithuania, starts a business in Lithuania, I would say that we do not run away. And do not leave the companies alone. We are here to support and provide this continuous support and assistance to international companies. So I will just present you some key facts and figures about the country, about Lithuania, and then go deeper and present our fintech ecosystem with the biggest success stories and proceed with talent, very briefly regulation and infrastructure. So I assume that everybody who attends this webinar knows where Lithuania is located, but unless you don't, so it's a country in Northern Europe with a population of 2.8 million people, so actually half the size of the Singaporean population. Very briefly about our economic performance during the last 2-3 years. So we were actually leading in COVID-19 recovery, and our economy was growing fast until early 2022, with Russia's invasion to Ukraine continuing and global prices, commodity and energy prices rising. The growth actually slowed. Nevertheless, the economy is expected to grow this year and the upcoming years. And worth mentioning is that Lithuania is part of international organizations such as NATO, EU, Eurozone, World Trade Organization, and OECD. And as it has already been mentioned in the introduction, why we are having this webinar, because Lithuania is the biggest fintech hub in Europe in terms of the number of licenses issued. So we are the fintech hub. What does that mean? We have more licenses than France, Germany, Netherlands, or Sweden has, or any other European country except UK, but UK is not really Europe, political at least anymore. So the sector is growing, developing. We have, since 2014, the number of fintechs in Lithuania actually increased 5-fold. And just 2 years ago, Lithuania was 4th in the global fintech ranking. Last year, we slipped to the 10th place. How can I explain that? I think the competition is really stiff. It's not that easy for Lithuania to compete with such countries as Brazil, Germany, Switzerland, which also had this aspiration to become a regional or even global fintech hub. And the The growth of the sector goes hand in hand with the maturity of the sector. The country invests a lot in risk management, different like tools. So the country is 8th global amongst lowest risk jurisdictions. And yeah, let's go deeper and see who is already here in Lithuania and who does what actually. So I assume that you might recognize some of the names, or at least a few of the names, or at least one Singaporean fintech that is also operating in Lithuania. It's namely Neum, the company with a global, I think 1,000 global FTEs. So they are licensed in Lithuania, have this pan-European electronic money institution license and a license support team. So you see how the number of fintechs is growing in Lithuania with this timeline. And yeah, I think, well, I can say that fintech is high on our political agenda. Key stakeholders such as the Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Economy, the regulator Bank of Lithuania, including us, Invest Lithuania, and the representatives from the market, they are finalizing fintech guidelines. That will be the roadmap for the development of the sector for the next 5 years. So fintech is a topic in Lithuania, and interesting fact is actually that half of these companies, half of the fintechs in Lithuania are foreign companies, or companies with foreign capital. So companies such as the digital bank Revolut, or software as a service provider Mambu from Germany, the unicorn, or any other names that you recognize, they actually believed in our value proposition and well, and chose Lithuania as a country for their operations, for license, and numerous reasons. So if I had to highlight one specific case, it would definitely be Revolut. When it all started, of course, it all started due to Brexit. Yeah, so the company moved to Lithuania, and back in 2017, Lithuania for Revolut was the 3rd largest market in terms of the number of customers. So really important country. And Vilnius was used as a test bed to develop new products, to test new products and see if it works and if you could scale with those products. And what followed was a rapid expansion across all functions. So now Revolut has a team of around 300 people in Lithuania, and a full banking license, which is actually a big achievement for a company because the license is passportable. So the Revolut started with an electronic money institution license, then received a special purpose banking license, which is something unique actually in Europe that we have in Lithuania. As I mentioned, we upgraded banking license, and on top of that, they were granted financial brokers license and insurance brokers license, and operate all these licenses from Lithuania, serving all European customers. So Revolut is our biggest success story, but not the only one. Already mentioned Mambu, also Shift for Payments, a European, it's American software company. Simplex from Israel, Railsr from UK, they are all in Lithuania. They are present here. They have the companies that are licensed, regulated, they have a license support team. The rest have R&D offices, engineering offices, product development offices. So why I am showing you all these examples, just to prove that even in a country small, of that size, yeah, it's possible to hire a team, to hire dedicated, talented people, and the hiring can be successful, and these examples just prove that. And I already started talking about talent indirectly, so a quick look at our talent ecosystem. The talent pool is the sector is expanding and the talent pool is expanding. We basically have 3 main streams of talent. Speaking about fintech, so the first one is usual, obvious universities, yeah, and 4 to 5 universities have specific fintech related programs actually. The second and the third stream is something I would say unique to Lithuania, so relocation. So we have specialists from non-EU neighboring countries such as Belarus, like software developers relocating to Lithuania, and the procedures were actually not that difficult to get the blue card, which is a fast-track procedure for highly skilled professionals and their families to relocate to Lithuania, to come to Lithuania and to start working actually. And the third stream is requalification. So talent, not only fintech is high in the political agenda, talent as well. So there are numerous requalification initiatives, including national requalification initiative. Funds have been allocated for that purpose. So by the end of 2016, we have 20,000 more specialists to be requalified, so software, including software developers, AI specialists, machine learning specialists, all these specialists that are in demand and that our ecosystem needs. Very briefly, how our talent pool is expanding. So many young kids actually are joining ICT studies. So they start studying that. So the vast majority of the ICT or IT specialists in Lithuania have this higher education degree. And most of them are, of course, fluent in English, what is also important to international companies. What does our talent cost? So Lithuania is not that low cost location as it used to be 20 years ago or 10 years ago even. Yet companies can still save if they are hiring, just to illustrate, like developers, compliance specialists or marketing specialists. And now I'm making this comparison, you see, between Lithuania and Vilnius, the capital city of Lithuania, and the Netherlands and Ireland. So it's still cheaper to hire specialists here, and you can find the right talent. I'm not sure how much time do I have. I think I still have like 5 minutes. Yeah, okay, good. So regulation, I don't go into detail because I'm not sure if there are many companies attending this webinar that are regulated or would be interested in licensing in Europe and in Lithuania. Yet I would say that we have a very innovative regulator, the Bank of Lithuania. It is well known for the level of innovation in Europe and globally, I would say. So if you get licensed in Lithuania, the licenses are passportable in Europe, and the Bank of Lithuania is also well known because it's actually accessible for the newcomers to through this newcomer program that it has, which is actually a pre-licensing phase where the newcomers can come, present their business idea, business case, and test these ideas and get the initial feedback from the Bank of Lithuania and initial consultation and prepare better for the licensing process. The working language of the Bank of Lithuania is English, and the standard licensing procedure is 6 to 12 months. So it depends always on the quality of the application. Usually it's 9 to 12 months, but we also have success cases when within 6 months the license was granted to a company. So the Bank of Lithuania has numerous initiatives, right, like regulatory sandbox, LB coin. Oh, this is interesting mentioning. It was issued in 2020, and it was the first of its kind blockchain-based central bank issued digital collector coin. So I think it tells something about the regulator and about the level of innovation. And Centralink, also something that might be interested to regulated fintechs, is actually a part of the Bank of Lithuania, part of its value proposition. So it's a payment system and a gateway to SEPA in Europe. So many fintechs in Lithuania are part of the Centralink system as well. I won't go into details. You just see the graphs where that showcase that the number of electronic money institutions and payment institutions using this system is growing, as well as the value of the transactions and the number of transactions. And infrastructure, 2 slides. I think having neighbors as ours, the country invests a lot in cybersecurity, in digital infrastructure. So we are first globally for public Wi-Fi speed, and 6th on the global cybersecurity index. And taxes is not less important for international companies. So Lithuania is has I think one of the most competitive tax systems in Europe, and the corporate profit tax at a rate of 15% in Europe is lower only in Hungary and in Ireland. So now really the final sentence from me. I think what international companies are looking for, they're looking for favorable business conditions, they're looking for favorable regulation, and they are looking for talent. And I believe that all these 3 main components they can find in Lithuania. So you see my contacts here, my email. Please contact me if you have interest in exploring Lithuania and yeah, maybe starting a business in Lithuania one day. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. I stop sharing my screen. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Agne, for setting the stage. I really hope that after the presentation, let's say Lithuania is on the map already. But now we would like to get to the practical insights on what it actually takes to set up your company here. And for that, I would like to switch over to Remco and introduce our panel.
Yeah, thank you very much, Agne, for the excellent presentation. Just before I kick off the panel discussion, to give a bit of a personal reflection of all this. So I've had the luxury to travel Lithuania several times, and what always amazed me is how collaborative the ecosystem is, and how, you know, let's say the bank is just right next door of the fintechs and very closely collaborating. And it's very easy, I would say, to navigate the ecosystem because of this collaborative nature. And I would even say that in comparison to Amsterdam, which also has a similar sort of feeling of size and regulated being very close to fintechs, etc., I would still say that the regulatory environment of Lithuania is more friendly and therefore has led to where it is right now when it comes to rankings, trends, and etc. So I'm excited to announce that I'll be moderating the panel for today. First of all, I would like to encourage the audience to use the chat function to send any questions you might have. I'm hoping to cover everything when it comes to why Lithuania is an interesting country to be situated in, the licensing frameworks, trends when it comes to Web3, possibilities for the next few years and key trends, etc. And I am joined by a host of experts who can cover all of these topics. So first of all, thank you, Agne. You will also be joining the panel. I'm also joined by Agne from FO Consulting Group. Hi, Agne. I'm also joined by Martinos Belunias, the CEO of Privacy Partners, who's be able to handle some cybersecurity insights and much more. And I'm joined by Ludus Canapius from Ondato. and he's representing one of the success stories of Ondato's Fintechs team. So let me kick off the panel. I'm gonna point the first question to you, Agne. Can you tell us a little bit about the licensing process framework in Lithuania? Why is Lithuania such a good country to get a license in, and how does that typically look?
Yes, Remco, sure. I think that a few things shall be mentioned. First of all, this happened that Lithuania became the fintech hub because of our work and our purposely work, yes, for that. Our government, as well as our central bank, they have political power to become fintech hub. And today we are in such a situation that within 7 years, starting from the 50 fintech, currently we have almost 300. And licensing process is really unique in Lithuania. Why? Because we have newcomers program, we have sandbox program. What does it mean? It means that we're not just saying companies come to Lithuania and get licenses, but we also, and our central bank help to work with the pre-initial applications. What it means that the company who wants to get license or company who want to know better about Lithuanian regulation side can come to our central bank, have a visit, explain the business plan, explain the ownership structure, explain about why the company want to get access to the European market, and will get a feedback. And it's quite unique. For instance, the numbers are also impressive. Under the statistics, our central bank have more than 700 participants which come to Lithuania and started discussions. According to the survey, which was executed this year, the fintech companies said, then they was asked why they chose Lithuania. They said that one of the most important thing is regulatory environment. So to say truth, in Lithuania, we have quite nice framework for the all, for the Web3 and for the fintech companies. Web3 is not licensed, but we have some regulatory environment, and fintech companies are licensed, and we, to say truth, also have pretty unique regimes in Lithuania. That's also that's why the Lithuania is attractive, including when we are talking about digital banking services, and we have a special purpose banking license, which less capital, and it's unique in Europe because only Lithuania has such type of regime.
Okay, thank you very much. Perhaps Agne, you can comment on this. I think one input from my side is that there has been some, let's say, criticism from other European countries saying that the central bank of Lithuania is much more easy compared to other central banks. Do you have any reflection on that, or does any of the panel have any reflection on that?
Yeah, it is, and to say truth, when the fintech boom started, we even have stories that license were issued within 3 months. Yes, currently the situation a bit changed because we have more market participants. But on the other hand, what we have new trends. Yes, and central bank publicly is saying that it is a really good platform for the crowdfunding services, for the wealth services. It's related to the investment services, yes. And central bank currently is saying that not only payment service providers come to Lithuania, but also other fintech companies. And what we're saying that for the crowdfunding service providers, for some insurtech service providers, for some wealth services providers, even they will promise that licensing process will be a really easy one.
Yeah. And Agne from Invest Lithuania, that I would like to ask you to reflect a little bit on this. What kind of new, as Agne from FO Consulting pointed out, what kind of new fintech companies do you see situating themselves in Lithuania? And then afterwards, I would like to ask Andrews, how do you see that in relationship to crypto and Web3 companies, specifically blockchain?
There are a number of virtual asset service providers in Lithuania, hundreds, I would say, but the number will decrease because we have like law, AML law that has been changed, amended, so the requirements actually increased for the VASPs in Lithuania. To be more precise, initial capital, minimum initial capital requirement, which is actually good because the biggest crypto companies in Lithuania, they are, I wouldn't say happy about the changes yet. They also are interested in maturing of the sector. So, but as my colleague Agne and other Agne said, this specific sector is not really regulated in comparison to electronic money institutions, banks, payment institutions. Yeah, Lithuania is waiting for the MiCA regulation, European EU-wide regulation that is expected to come in 2025. Yeah, but I would also add on. On top of this, what has been said, that more and more wealth management companies are coming to Lithuania and starting business here, licensing in Lithuania. And I think that our regulator sees that the payment sector is pretty much saturated. Well, Lithuania is pretty small and we have so many payment institutions, licensed payment institutions. Do we really need another payment institution in Lithuania? If yes, it really has to have a strong business case in Lithuania and good business plan, and actually explain well why they want to do business in Lithuania, where the competition is pretty much, I would say, stiff here in the payment sector. So it's I think such companies as insurtechs or financial brokers, financial brokerage firms, crowdfunding platform operators, they are really welcome in Lithuania because there is a need of these type of companies in Lithuania. It's still developing these subsectors. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. And Andrews, how do you see that in relationship to the development of the crypto and Web3 space?
So generally, I would say that the Web3 space in Lithuania is quite, let's say, at the forefront when it comes to actually these regulations. I think it's taking a step forward towards implementing MiCA. So the companies that are already here to some extent will be compliant with the upcoming regulations. There are a few already Singaporean entities such as Cake DeFi that have set up their organizations in Lithuania, and there are plenty of other virtual asset service providers. Aside from that, we have technology companies, NFT companies that also are seeing Lithuania as their base of operations. So I would say that the sector is growing. Of course, as Agne rightfully said, the stricter regulation can have an impact on the short-term growth. But I think that, you know, we want to have a sustainable ecosystem here. So yeah, that's my take on it.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, so we touched upon the MiCA regulation. So for the audience, this is an EU-wide regulation that will basically put more pressure onto crypto-related businesses and will also require proper onboarding AML and also be the fully licensed entities in Europe. So Ludus, perhaps you can reflect a little bit on that, being from Ondata what you do and how you see the market and trends and why KYC is such an important factor in there.
Yeah, so basically maybe a bit of to extend the talk about MiCA, so which is like markets in crypto assets, yeah, so regulation. That was said right, it's just nothing new actually what is happening within the industry, and the industry itself looks for the regulation because all this year in the discussions in different type of discussions, especially with the crypto related discussions, every market participant talks about the need for the regulation because first of all, to secure the infrastructure and the ecosystem itself, and also then to have the proper relationship within the other parts of the infrastructure, especially within the banking industry. Yeah, so and that helps a lot. And basically, where Lithuania pushed forward is that from the November 1st this year, the regulation was introduced in Lithuania, and all of the market participants that we know here operating and the global ones actually welcome this regulation and just looking forward to comply with it. Yeah, so of course, from all the more than 400 players within the crypto that are now active in Lithuania, so there will be less, that's for sure. And but again, like looking from the market's perspective, because we work both in crypto and the traditional financial industries, we see that there is a common understanding that regulation is needed for both of them to be able to work together and basically then to ensure the needed infrastructure and all the benefits what the crypto industry is bringing to the consumers and to the end users. Yeah, so with that, there's no like other way of thinking that the regulation wouldn't be needed or whatever. Yeah, so and what we see in general, according like up to the market trends, so that Lithuania is always a bit of front runner within the setting up the right environment in the ecosystem itself, and that would happen as well with the electronic money institution licensing, that what was already mentioned with the specialized banking licensing and other type of initiatives. First of all, understanding that we are still the small market as the local market itself, and then of course being ready to passport that licenses across the European Union, and also then setting up the rules how those institutions can interact with other European clients. Yeah, so all the laws for remote customer onboarding are there. It is working, fully operational, and lots of the basically activities then can be done from Lithuania, having the license here and just passport it to other countries. Yeah, so and that is expected to be done the same within the crypto industry, of course, with the Web3 initiatives as well, what was mentioned as well, with the NFTs and other technological initiatives and advantages. Yeah, so that's my input on that. Remco, sorry, you're still on mute.
Oh yes, I'm on mute. Well, I said thanks, Lucas. That's good input, because you already touched another point, which is standardized regulation. But talking a little bit further about regulation, Martinos, how do you look at Lithuania from a cybersecurity perspective? As Agne highlighted in the presentation, that you are one of the leading countries, also because of some geopolitical tensions right now in the region. How do you see these new regulations, and for example, also DORA?
Okay, so I would firstly touch your point about overall cybersecurity situation in Lithuania. Lithuania is really well prepared from a cybersecurity viewpoint, because, as you mentioned, we are sometimes in a little bit in middle ground between Western and Eastern Europe. So from the experience side, from a specialist side, there is a very good preparedness level. Regarding fintech situation with cybersecurity, I would say that the very good thing is that the Bank of Lithuania requirements were very crystal clear and simple, and they are very compliant with European Central Bank cybersecurity regulations. So from the sense of coming into Lithuania, you should have a very clear vision on how you will implement cybersecurity, what are your IT security risks and things like that. And then implementation of cybersecurity, you can follow more or less the same structure, which is in ISO 27001 and 002 standards. Or if you are coming from the NIST standard, which is more common in the US perspective. So let's say everything is applicable in Lithuania. The other good thing which I would like to mention is that the ecosystem of service providers, onboarding, AML services, cybersecurity services is very, very good here, and it's possible to build your infrastructure as a fintech just having a very clear idea. Other things can be simply clicked in as a cloud services, as overall services. So it's simple to come to Lithuania and build your fintech. It's a low risk location, and it's access to the whole European Union. Thanks, Remco. Back to you.
Yeah, well, then another follow-up question on what you just said. What are, in your opinion, some of the absolute key requirements for getting a license in Lithuania and getting started? What are some of your hands-on tips?
From that perspective, the first point which I would like to mention, and it's a problem which we see with some of the fintechs, you should have a very clear business idea what you will do as a fintech. What will be your core business, what data will come in, what data you will click with financial data, and so on. If you have a clear business idea, then other parts, they are not that complicated in Lithuania. Other thing which I would suggest to rely on the approach or use cloud computing and cloud services, because it's much easier, it's much faster, it's scalable, and it's a low risk application, because you don't need to build your own huge classical bank legacy infrastructure. You just use the cloud services, pay per service, pay per hours, and so on. You're building your model, you're building your proof of concept, you're licensing it in very short time. Documents preparation, as colleagues mentioned, it can take sometimes 6 months, sometimes up to 12 months, but that's maximum, I would say. And when you're launching your proof of concept with very low cost comparing with other Western European countries. So it's as I said, it's a low risk approach, but you need to have a very clear idea. Other thing, you need to be really well dedicated to the cybersecurity, to understand that cybersecurity is a key paramount. Without cybersecurity, you cannot start any business. And I should say that the Bank of Lithuania, they're quite strict on the cybersecurity. It's, so to say, financial institutions, it's really, I would say, high-risk institutions from a cybersecurity perspective. So you need to ensure that part. Cybersecurity strategy, your IT strategy development for the 5 years perspective, that should be prepared in advance. And but still, if you have a clear business idea, all the other things can be simply clicked into overall structure. Thanks, Remco, back to you.
Yeah, okay, so we've highlighted very clearly that a super clear business model is an absolute requirement. What are some of your key tips, let's say, Agne from FO Consulting, when it comes to getting a license in Lithuania? What are some of the best practices that you've seen in your work?
Yes, as I mentioned, and Agne mentioned, I encourage to use newcomers program. It's one simple tips for everyone, yes, just to have initial negotiation with central bank. Another important maybe thing is that typically when we are talking about payments, about fintech, we are, first of all, we are thinking about payment services, yes, but Lithuania not only about payment services, yeah, and in Europe we have not one regime which can be passported. So that's why when you think about any of fintech, yes, I encourage to think about Lithuania as well, because typically either from Lithuania, either from other European country, you can passport your license and to reach the whole Europe. But one additional thing what is really highly important, and about what regulatory bodies are thinking, it's your initial capital and your source of funds. And it's really important when you get when you want to get B license, yes. So it depends on the license. For instance, the special purpose bank shall have 1 million of initial capital in euros, but typically because of your business model, because how many employees you want to employ, etc., it could be even the bigger one, yeah. So it's really important when you're going, when you are preparing your business idea, to think about the capital. And as well, another important thing is about ownership structure, because also it's like 3 pillars, yes? Ownership, initial capital, and your business plan. It's 3 areas which shall be covered within your initial meeting or even late.
Yeah, clear. And Agne from Invest Lithuania, how would you compare this initial capital requirements to other European countries and other European fintech hubs, let's say to London or to Netherlands or to Switzerland?
So initial capital requirements is nothing very unique to Lithuania. Well, I mean the numbers, because it's a EU-wide regulation. So it's only what we have unique is special purpose banking license with a requirement of a minimum initial capital of 1 million euro, but in practice it's much higher. Usually it's not 1 million euro, it's 2, 3, 4, 5 million euros for a special purpose bank. The rest is actually it's similar as in other European countries, because it's covered by EU regulation.
Yeah, okay, clear. Yeah. Then I would like to go into a few more topics for today's panel that we haven't covered yet, obviously. I want to talk a little bit about why Lithuania is a good gateway for fintechs getting situated there and then to enter other EU markets. So I would like to point this question first to Ludus, and then I will go to Andres. So Ludus, can you tell me a little bit about how you began in Lithuania, how the ecosystem supported your journey from being a startup to a full-up scale-up with Western European expansion?
Well, yeah, so you know, as I mentioned before, like Lithuania, first of all, like applied, let's say, the regulatory environment, looking from the perspective how it fits into the European one. Yeah, so and then how those companies and the fintechs can actually then operate not only locally in this like local market, but also then in pan-European market as such. And looking from that perspective for companies like ours, an example, because we are working more in the regulatory technology business rather than the like direct fintech as such. Yeah, so and we help other financial institutions basically to operate, and this type of environment then helps us as well to provide those services to the international companies and of course internationally as such. Yeah, so wherever they're actually operating and wherever they have those customers. So and that helps them as well for us to first of all like develop and to know what is expected from that environment, because there's no like changes happening that are not discussed within the market participants, that is not like unexpected or something. Yeah, so and it's not that it's the regulation itself and the environment itself is waiting until the very final day of the implementation of you know European regulations or something. In lots of the cases it's you know it's upfront and introduced even before the other, let's say, countries and other markets are then initiating those discussions even. Yeah, so that happened as well with the electronic money, with the payments directives, then also with remote customer, let's say, onboarding, then AML regulations, what we see, the crypto assets regulations. So that's exactly the same, because to give an example, when already the companies were establishing in Lithuania, and then lots of them are establishing and obtaining the licenses here. Poland, example, which is just the next market to us, way bigger than Lithuania from that perspective, but there was no infrastructure at all. Yeah, so and the regulators there didn't even know what is their approach to the financial markets, and especially to the fintech as such. Yeah, so and these type of difference that what we see in different markets, that what really helps us then to stand out and as a country and as a hub. And that's why today we have so many companies operating from Lithuania, because the requirements are crystal clear. As mentioned before, as Martina said, this whole infrastructure here that you can just plug in and basically just work. Maybe what is really important as the takeaway, and I will stress that again, what was mentioned by Martinez already 3 times I counted, so that there has to be a proper business case, because what we see that now there's a bit of maybe changing, I don't know, rumors, let's say, about Lithuania, that maybe it's not so easy to get a license or something like that, which is actually not true, because everything is still the same, and the approach itself from the regulator, from the government, the help from Invest Lithuania and other participants is really huge. Just nobody wants just to give the license in sake of giving the license, that's for sure. And everyone expects actually operating company that solves the challenges or the issues of the market. And if there is just an idea to open whatever type of electronic money institution and doing something like issuing cards and making payments, even not knowing for whom, so then of course there will be challenging, because it will be difficult to explain that to the regulator so that you know what you're doing. But if people actually know, and the business knows what they're doing, what kind of business case they have, what problem in the market they're solving, and why they need the license, that will be a straightforward and fast track way for sure. So I know that, and I see those cases coming up. For every market participant here that operates in Lithuania, it is really helpful environment. People, it is not such a huge community, and people are very helpful, very straightforward. You can reach a regulator directly, and it's really not a common case within the industry that you can actually talk with the regulator, and if you want to ask something or you have an idea, that you can test it out and basically to ask their opinion on it. So it's not a very market standard in other jurisdictions, and that's really helpful. The other thing is that maybe what we didn't mention here, but there is even the sandbox environments and sandbox activities within the regulator, which actually allows to test the new ideas and new business cases even without the regulatory environment. So that's the flexibility that this country actually offers, and which is really beneficial for the market participants.
Yeah, I think the business model has been highlighted quite a couple of times now. So I think that is a key element of success for any kind of fintech at the moment, because I highly agree with the panel that there's so many e-money institutions out there, and the real question is how are you going to make money, how are you going to differentiate from the already existing players and so forth, and that being a key factor. And also I think very important to highlight is the ecosystem, which to me sounds it's more or less a plug and play environment, where if you have a good business model, then Lithuania can support you in every way possible. Then perhaps a different kind of question, attracting overseas talents. I would like to give this question to anybody in the panel who would like to take it. How and why how can Lithuania attract, let's say, talent from Singapore when there's already a Singapore hub, let's say, existing, and the other way around? Perhaps Agne, you can say something about this.
So there are various reasons why actually people or companies choose to relocate. I do not go into detail, but I can say what Lithuania has to offer. So I mentioned the fast track procedure, the blue card. So it's actually one of the ways to enter Europe, to enter Lithuania for highly skilled professionals and to start just straight working in Lithuania. So the procedure can take 2 to 4 weeks. It's for the highly skilled professionals and for their families, so the whole family can relocate to Lithuania. And I mean, there are ways how to do it. There are financial incentives actually issued by the country, by the state, to cover the relocation costs. And so I think Lithuania as a country, it has recognized that and came to this understanding that, well, we can requalify our talent, but the local talent is still not enough. I mean, there is a need for attracting the talent from abroad, you know, whether they are Lithuanians living abroad for 10 or 5 years and relocating back to Lithuania, or whether there are people from other European countries or non-EU countries. So there are means how to do this. And why people do this. If they are in fintech, I think there are many interesting companies in Lithuania, as I showed in my slides, developing many interesting innovative products. So if people would like to be part of this, there are ways with the blue card, with other work and labor permit and the fast track procedure, how to do this. And even the financial incentives covering relocation costs.
Yeah, clear. Then I think the overall picture is pretty clear for me. Then I would like to ask you a question from each one of you, beginning with Agne from SO Consulting. Let's say hypothetically I'm a Lithuanian or any other fintech, let's say coming from Singapore, any other part of the world, and I want to get fully operated in Lithuania and I want to expand to Western European countries. What is your company going to do for me? Let's say, name 3 key elements that you can provide, let's say, as an acquisition player to get me started.
Yeah, so I think that a really good gateway to obtain the licensing is to reach our Invest Lithuania, yes. Because Invest Lithuania have his connection with all legal firms, with other service providers. So Invest Lithuania really will help to do the first steps, yes. Of course, another way to start business in Lithuania is to reach legal consultant firm, because typically lawyers, they connect, yes, fintech company or other type of company, help to establish the company in Lithuania, help to, and guide how to enter newcomers program, etc. So, but also I started to speak, but what we not to mention, but what is worth to mention regarding licensing is infrastructure. Agne told us about central link system, and also it's important to mention when fintech want to reallocate or want to start its operations, always there is a question, either banks work with fintech companies, either there is infrastructure which work. So for sure, I can say that Centralink helped to solve a problem which was 6-7 years ago when the fintech boom started and our traditional banking started to see a bit suspicious regarding all fintech sector, but current fintech sector grow and the bank started to work with the fintech, our ecosystem as well, and even with PSD2 and all open banking, the fintechs and the traditional banks, we started to cooperate in digital services. Yeah. So that's why what I wanted to stress, what also not only the good legal framework, but the necessary infrastructure regarding execution of payments, for instance, and cooperation with other partners also exist. But if to come back to your question, Remco, so either it's Invest Lithuania, either it's a legal firm, either it's other service provider, we totally in Lithuania know each other, can help to find the good partners. So typical work with that. Also our cluster which Andrews represent, it's also connected with the different service providers and help to execute the projects. And I think this is the case to start to think about Lithuania.
Yeah, then I'm going to point that question to Andreas next. How does the BCCS cluster as an ecosystem player contribute to companies situated in Lithuania? And how do you look at the infrastructure? Because I do think that what you mentioned, the central link is super important. For example, I was once setting up an EMI institution myself, and SEPA connection is an absolute requirement, but also looking into, let's say, crypto possibilities and licensing. So, Andreas, what's your play?
I would maybe echo some of the things that the colleagues have already mentioned. I think that in Lithuania, being a small nation as we are, collaboration is a key part of it. And whether that's BCCS or whether there are other associations such as Fintech Hub or Fintech Lithuania, each of us does our fair share of ensuring that the ecosystem grows. So I would really encourage our listeners to reach out. All of the people here and not participating in this call today are open to sharing their insights. As BCCS, we essentially can help from getting the license to hiring your first employee or making your first sale. So I really encourage to reach out to either Invest Lithuania, BCCS, or any other stakeholders in Lithuania, because we're definitely open to sharing and connecting with people.
Yeah, great. And Martinos, what can you add to any fintech when it comes to the cybersecurity concerns?
Well, I'll maybe firstly start from the Lithuania's allocation from a little bit different perspective. Why Lithuania is so good to start financial business? I think we do have a very good experience of shared service centers. It's more than 50 shared service centers in Lithuania now of a bigger banks, let's say the former Barclays and so on. The good thing is that Lithuanians as a nation, they are used to work with foreign nationalities. They're very tolerant. There is a very multilingual environment, and people know how to work in the financial environments, know how to work in the shared service center. So it's quite easy to switch them to the fintech mode. That's one thing. Another thing from a cybersecurity perspective, Remco mentioned at the very beginning that the DORA, Digital Operational Resilience Act. The good thing in Lithuania is that our central bank as a regulatory institution is very innovative. And if you have some really new idea, for example, like distributed ledger technology, decentralized identity things and things like that, it may be pretty difficult to come through in other countries, because I should admit that in other countries, central banks tend to be on the very conservative side. In Lithuania, with all the mentioned regulatory sandboxes and very, extended hand approach to the Bank of Lithuania, it's much faster. It's much easier to approach. And the third thing, which definitely is worth to mention, is that you definitely, if you have clear business idea, if you have good business owners, ultimate beneficial owners, non-sanctioned owners, of course, then it's pretty easy to build in like a Lego bricks the whole infrastructure, because Ludos from Ondato, other players in the BCCS cluster, they simply click in, plug in, and help to make your fintech viable, help to build this proof of concept very fast, and how to say, regulator does whatever is possible to bring it to the market. So it's pretty much faster and much easier than in some other countries. That's it. Back to you, Remco.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I mean, recently there was, to make a comparison between the Netherlands and Lithuania, there were some concerns about the conservative, let's say, attitude of the Dutch National Bank, which they actually lost the court case for, because and the AML company in the Netherlands said, hey guys, you're just using old school rule-based AML instead of using AI, and it's time to change that. And actually they won that court case, which was quite exemplary for the industry, because normally the law was on the side of the regulator. So I think we can learn a lot from Lithuania in that perspective. Then I would like to give the words for the kind of last topics that we have for the few remaining minutes to Ludus. Can you tell me just something personable? How did you do it? How did you grow from a relatively small company when I met you a couple of years ago to one of Lithuania's prime examples of success?
You know, it's a good question, Remco, but you know, there's no single answer to it, is it? You see, I was from the very beginning in the fintech industry of Lithuania, and I'm kind of, you know, familiar with the things that are happening and with the environment that you know, we are looking, let's say, to achieve from its core. Yeah, so. And basically, in my belief, it's just again a timing and the challenge that I'm helping to solve with the company, with Ondato, and basically, as Martynas mentioned, we are also like, we're plug and play type of company with the software as a service, and that approach actually, of course, helps us to grow and scale. Yeah, so. But you know, if asking about like how, so it's a bit of too big push like for us, let's say, to say that, you know, we are one of the leading companies from Lithuania. It's you know, we are just focused on the things that we know, and on the targets that we want to achieve, and what we actually want to help our customers with. And it seems that, you know, it brings value to them, and that's what ensures the growth of the company. So and the other thing is that, you know, we are truly focused on the actual benefits that we can bring to our customers, and then the life is way easier, you know, for us also to grow and scale. Because that value is then created, and you know, you can then ensure your growth on this. Again, as I already mentioned a bit, yeah. So like knowing the environment you are in, and predicting a bit of, you know, the upcoming changes and upcoming let's say requirements and the regulatory, then also the talent itself that we have in Lithuania. This combination actually helps to grow the company, you know, and to be honest, you know, there's sometimes discussions that maybe it's a small country, maybe there's some kind of lack of talent here. I would say that it's not true, because you know, when having the product and knowing what you want to achieve, and basically then offering that transparently to the market, and to also to your you know, colleagues that you're looking for, it really helps to find them, and it's not an issue to find the talent at all. Of course, you know, everybody wants to be involved within the business, within the product. I wouldn't say that there's lots of how to call it, a bit of you know, less knowledgeable talent, because you know that the talent itself is quite senior by all the means, and the majority of the population actually has the university degrees here. So you know, they want to be involved with everything. They want to you know, to actually solve the challenges, the issues of the market, and they don't want to just you know, to be as we call them, bio-robots. Yeah, so they want to create things, and if you can offer that, it's not a problem to scale at all.
Yeah, very good insights. Thanks, Lucas. I have one more question from my side, and that's for Agni from Invest Lithuania. How would you describe the difference between the three Baltic states when it comes to the fintech ecosystem, strengths and weaknesses, and talent pool, just for the understanding, let's say, for the Singaporean audience?
Well, Lithuania, I think, is at the front. Lithuania is the front runner, and however, we hear a lot about like Estonia, e-Estonia, many unicorns that were born in Estonia. But when it comes to fintech, I think Lithuania's talent pool is much bigger. Lithuania's regulator is really innovative in comparison to the other two countries. Infrastructure is better as well, so the ecosystem is more active, it's bigger. So I don't want to do the blaming and shaming and say, oh, these two countries is not that good as we are. But I think it's Lithuania that is the fintech hub that is well known for all those reasons, such as talent, infrastructure, regulator, and the success cases, the companies that are already in the ecosystem, that are part of the ecosystem. So this is actually what we have, and this is our competitive advantage.
Yeah, very interesting. I mean, I'm compared to Estonia mostly when it comes to cybersecurity. So Martinas, perhaps you can give some comments to that, as Estonia was quite well known for, let's say, being a leader when it came to this particular field.
I would say that from cybersecurity perspective, it's a bit different perspective. I would say that it's pretty good cooperation between Baltic countries. In Estonia, for example, there is a NATO Cyber Defense Institute, which is established, and they cooperate super tightly with Lithuanian National Center on Cybersecurity. Overall, if we look to our National Center of Cybersecurity activities, it's very near to business. They're doing quite a lot of things which are useful for fintech. So to say, they're taking some load off the fintech shoulders, providing some central protection functions which are not imaginable in other countries, and that's because of this close cooperation between I would say mostly between Estonia and Lithuania. Latvia is honestly a little bit behind in the cybersecurity developments, but overall it's very strong cooperation. There are a lot of cybersecurity researchers from Lithuania who are working in Tartu University, and I know some Estonian people who are working in Lithuania. And from that perspective, it's really friendly. It's quite how to say, quite close, not to say close circle, but quite little circle of people which are reachable, or whom it's possible to consult. The other good thing is that in smaller ecosystems, it's easier to, how to say, to find the problems and to manage them. Because imagine if you're in a huge country with hundreds of participants in ecosystem and so on, it's pretty tough. In Lithuania, it's easy. I mean, if there is some cybersecurity problem, you can immediately reach out to the state institution who is responsible for that. You can consult with colleagues who maybe already have this kind of attack, for example, or vulnerability, and it's discussable in so to say very friendly, easy, and fast manner. So from that perspective, I would say that cooperation across NATO countries, across European Union, and in the Baltic countries, it's really good, and let's say it will continue into the future. Remco, back to you.
Thank you, Martina. So as just a personal statement, because we're almost running out of time, so I would like to encourage the Singaporean audience, if you have any questions to the panels left, these are the minutes to do so. What I would really like to point out is that my personal feeling about Lithuania and its ecosystem is really reflected in this panel, because I think the most important element for any company thinking about Lithuania's fintech hub is really the collaborative environment, as we said. the regulatory environment, but also just the ease of access that has been highlighted by every speaker in this panel. So thank you to all of you for participating today. One last question then. Since there's no question from the audience, perhaps this one is for you, Andreas, just to give a perspective, anybody who wants to jump in. How do you see the digital euro shaping, let's say, Lithuania's ecosystem or euro in general? How do you see the implications of central bank digital currencies?
I think that generally, let's say, Lithuania is also one of the innovative banks that Agne from Invest Lithuania highlighted. There have been various initiatives from launching the digital collector's coin, and also Lithuania's bank has been innovating in the CBDC space. So from that perspective, I would say that generally it's, let's say, quite at its early stages, but generally Lithuania has been keeping up with the pace of innovation. And CBDC is something that the central bank is currently exploring.
Yeah, it's one of the topics that is quite frequently coming up now in a lot of fintech events and conferences, because we do not really know yet how CBDCs and the digital euro will be shaped. So that is something for the future. For now, I think that we've covered all grounds. So thanks again, everybody, for joining this panel. If there are any follow-up questions related to the panelists, then feel free to reach out to them. I think all of the protocols have been sent. And thank you to the Singapore Fintech Association for hosting this event and organizing it with us. And I would like to give the stage then to you for the last bits.
So thanks everyone for attending this session. And also once again, a special thank you to our panelists for this insightful session as well. So we hope you find this session beneficial for you. Should you wish to revisit this discussion, we'll be uploading a recording of this session onto YouTube, and we'll send across the link to everyone as well. So thanks everyone once again, and have a great week ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.